Hello!
Hello!
Today we are going to talk to you all about finding pieces. The first thing you should probably know about finding pieces is that finding pieces stinks.
A lot.
So we're going to try and give you some tips to make it stink less.
Our first main tip when finding a piece, reading is your best friend.
It's pretty simple logic. The more books you read, the more likely you are to find a piece that you like. That's why you should never stop reading. And that's also why a lot of people we know start reading in the summer when they have a lot of free time and can get a lot of reading done.
Also, reading doesn't mean reading the back synopsis of the book or play. You actually have to open it and read a good chunk of it before you know if you're going to like it or not. Our second main tip: there's no such thing as a perfect piece.
We have so many people tell us that they need to find the perfect piece for their senior year, because if the piece isn't perfect, then their performance won't be perfect. And if their performance isn't perfect, then they won't be perfect. And if they're not perfect, they're not going to do well. And if they don't do well, they're going to have all these regrets, and everything's going to be stupid, and it's all going to be dumb, and Interp's never going to be fun anymore. And I'm sick of it! I'm sick of it, and I don't like it!
Calm down.
Chill out, other Chris. We firmly believe that what you're doing is not as important as how you do it.
It's how you do it, not what you're performing. I've seen really bad pieces that were performed very well and are very successful.
I've seen really good pieces performed terribly, and they have no success as a result of that.
What's important is that you find a piece that you like and fits you. To recap, our first main tip about finding a piece is reading is your best friend.
Our second tip is that there's no such thing as the perfect piece.
Now that we've been over that, here are some places where you can find some pieces. Look at that down there. Those are a bunch of links to websites that Chris and I like to find plays and books at. We're also going to tell you about some of our favorites.
If you're looking for plays, 3 of the best websites to go to are Play Scripts, Samuel French, and Dramatist. Now, I think Play Scripts is one of the better websites to go for if you're looking for plays, because they let you read 3/4 of the play online without having to purchase it, which means you can get a pretty good idea if it's a good piece for you or not, without even having to spend any money.
Amazon is one of our favorite websites to find books, because you don't have to search for a specific book. You can search for general themes like the Iraq War, and maybe click autobiographies, so that way you can find stuff about topics you like.
There are also a lot of websites that publish scripts solely for the purpose of being used for Interp, like SpeechGeek or Black Book.
Or 3P Speech Publishing. Libraries are a great place to look at books for free, if you don't want to pay for them.
Another good way to look for pieces is simply by asking around. Ask friends or other people you know in Interp, or just ask different coaches and see if they can give you an idea about a good piece for you.
Finding pieces stinks a lot.
So, you should never stop reading, looking for good pieces.
And don't try to find the perfect piece.
Now that you know where to look for pieces,
we're going to tell you what to look for in pieces. One of the more important things to look for when finding a piece is that you like it. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to want to do it.
And if you're forced to do a piece you don't like over a long enough time, eventually, you'll snap. Now we're going to talk about some of the more detailed things you need to look for in your piece. If you read a book or play and think it's wonderful, but you can't figure out how you'd get a cutting out of it, chances are you shouldn't do it as your piece.
For speech, it's important to be able to find a story within the story. You need to be able to find a 10-minute cutting in the piece. So if it's too complex and you won't be able to tell the story within the story, you probably shouldn't do it as a piece. Another thing that you should look at is the language. This is especially important in books, because Ryan wonders how long Ryan could speak like this before the audience questioned what Ryan was doing.
Because you're going to be taking from the book or play and using it in your performance, the language of it is very important. If your book is in first person, chances are it will be much easier for you to cut. and thus much easier to do as an interp piece.
If you're looking at a book, you should also make sure there's a lot of dialogue. If you're looking for a duo, it's very important that the book or play you're doing has two characters that share a very developed relationship.
One of the most important things we think you should look for in your piece is the climax of the piece.
Climax!
The climax is important because the climax should be the part of your piece that wins the audience over. And if you're reading a book or play and find a defining moment that you think will win the audience over, chances are that will be a good piece to do as an interp piece.
When you're reading a book or play, you want to try to set yourself up for success.
So when you're reading books or plays, always try to look for different emotions that you can portray as an actor.
That way, when you make a cutting, you will have different levels.
Showing your range as an actor is good.
You should watch our video on plot structure. That way you know what you need to get out of a cutting. If you know what you need to get out, and then read a book that has it, you know it's a good piece you should do.
Hopefully after watching this video, you have a much better idea of what to look for in pieces.
Make sure you watch all our other videos.
Hopefully we should have another video coming out in 2 weeks.